All right, this video has to do with how basically each debate, Democratic and Republican, differ. And one of the key areas that they differ in is how they address racial issues. The Democrats basically do address them somewhat, but not as much as they should, whereas the Republicans don't address racial issues at all.
Democrats had their sixth debate last night in Milwaukee. It was Hillary Clinton versus Bernie Sanders. A number of issues came up. Lots of discussion about race in this debate. And I'm going to ask my panel about that because why in the hell Republican candidates don't get asked about race relations? Here's a sample of what took place last night.
I want to tackle those barriers that stand in the way of too many Americans right now. African Americans who face discrimination in the job market, education, housing, and the criminal justice system.
Who denies that African American youth unemployment, real, is over 50%? We need to create jobs.
We have to restore policing that will actually protect the communities that police officers are sworn to protect. And then we have to go after sentencing. And that's one of the problems here in Wisconsin, because so much of what happens in the criminal justice system doesn't happen at the federal level.
I would hope that we could all agree that we are sick and tired of seeing videos on television of unarmed people, often African Americans, shot by police officers. What we have got to do is make it clear that any police officer who breaks the law will, in fact, be held accountable.
So it's going to be my responsibility to make sure we move forward to solve these problems that are now out in the open. Nobody can deny them. To use the Justice Department, as we just saw, where they have said they're going to sue Ferguson, that entered into a consent agreement, and then tried to back out. So we're going to enforce the law. We're going to change policing practices. We're going to change incarceration practices. But we're also going to emphasize education, jobs, and housing.
Race relations would be better under a Sanders presidency than they've been.
Absolutely, because what we will do is say, instead of giving tax breaks to billionaires, we are going to create millions of jobs for low-income kids so they're not hanging out on street corners. We're going to make sure that those kids stay in school or are able to get a education.
Now, out of the two of these out of these various clips, which one of these candidates do you think actually addressed the problems, or basically was just doing an overall view? In my mind, Bernie Sanders was pointing out specific things, whereas Hillary Clinton was basically, I can't say glossing over, but she wasn't zeroing in on the specific problems. So now you're going to hear Roland Martin basically discussing these problems with 4 Republicans, and watch the, I guess she's a Middle Eastern woman that's sitting on his right, basically try to defend the Republicans per se.
All right, folks, let's get right into it. Again, I make this point, and it bothers me. I watch these debates, and moderators, I guess they don't want to ask Republicans about issues of race and race relations. Typically, it's one question. Yeah. I can go through the debate. Rand Paul answered with the commercial break. They threw a question out to Donald Trump. He praised police. And they went to the next question. So Republicans shouldn't have to answer questions about these issues?
Well, that's because it's not, if you look at the platforms of all the candidates on the Republican side, which I had to do for an article I wrote for Essence, only 2 of them had a plan for criminal justice reform, which I think we can all agree is a huge race issue. Rand Paul, Chris Christie, and both of them dropped out. So it isn't an issue that is at the forefront of the Republican Party. I've never seen them say that this is an issue that we really care about.
You have to understand how you're framing the question, okay? The question can be framed like this. What do you think about the Black Lives Matter movement?
No,
what do you think
actually,
about...
no. The question can actually be framed. The question can actually be framed. Do you believe that we have mass incarceration in this country, and what specifically is your criminal justice plan to deal with this? Do you support mandatory minimums? Do you support the existing criminal justice bill before Congress? And are you standing with other Republicans like Newt Gingrich, Grover Norquist, and others who say, guess what, we're throwing too many people in jail?
What I'm saying is race relations questions can be asked many different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be asked that way.
They don't even come up.
They don't come up. Yes, they are.
No.
I just told you. I just told you. One question came up to Rand Paul.
Okay.
They went to commercial break.
No.
A question was asked about race to Donald Trump. He turned to the police. They're the most beaten down folks in the country, and we should love them.
Okay. Can we go beyond the debates and ask this? In questions and answers, in interviews, in one-on-ones, these Republican candidates are answering these questions.
No, they're not. Because they're not even talking to black media. No, they're not.
And
Ralph, are you seeing Republican candidates talking about these issues?
During the debates, the issues for urban America are not being addressed in the manner that they should be. How do you have all of these debates and Flint not come up? How do you have all of these debates and the death of unarmed citizens, be they black or white, not come up? How do you have all these debates and sentencing reform not come up? It seems as though on the Republican side, even from the moderator standpoint, they're more interested in taking out Trump than actually giving.
We're asking about ISIS and everything else. I'm just saying that I watch the Democratic debates and I hear and see the sort of the same questions. I'm going, can y'all somehow ask the same thing on the Republican side? But I got to ask you this here. Last night, you really saw.
And that's the point. They never asked Republicans shit about racial issues. And again, that woman on Roland Martin's right, all she was trying to do was defend the Republicans, trying to say, well, the question can be asked in a different way. Look, straight out is straight out. Game recognizes game. They know that they have a major deficit when it comes to them, meaning Republicans, addressing racial issues. And all this lady was trying to do was trying to spin her way out of it unsuccessfully, I might add, that, the Republicans have been asked those questions, and that is a straight out lie.